Today we're going to talk about pronouns. We've seen direct objects in DOPs. Now let's talk about indirect objects in IOPs. So let's review. A direct object is the noun in a sentence that receives the action. So in this example, we would have, I give the homework to my teacher. First step, locate the verb. And then ask yourself, what's being given? The verb is give, so what's being given? In this case, the homework is being given. So that makes homework the direct object. Now for pronouns, we know that their role is to replace a noun. So we replace the direct object with a direct object pronoun. Our options include lo, la, los, and las. All things we've seen. Lo and la translate to it, him, or her, whereas los and las translates to them. So an example would be, yo la doy a mi profesor. I give it to my teacher. It being the homework we mentioned in the English example. Let's review placement of where these pronouns go. We know the most popular option is before a conjugated verb. Most common because it's the simplest. Then we can attach. We can attach to things like gerunds, infinitives, or commands. But when we attach, we have to be very careful of the new sounds we're creating and where the stress falls. Therefore, new accents might come up. So please be aware of new accents needing to be added. Now that we've reviewed DOPs, let's talk about a new pronoun. Indirect objects. An indirect object is to whom or for whom the action is done in a sentence. Now, again, they might not be in all sentences. An example would be, I send letters to my parents. Now, if we break down the different parts of the sentence, I would be the subject, send is your verb or predicate, letters your direct object because that's being sent, and to whom? To my parents. So therefore, this is our indirect object. So once we've identified the indirect object, we use a pronoun to replace it. So we need to say to whom or for whom something is done. Now you've already seen these. Here are our options. Le and les. These should look pretty familiar. Le translates to him or for him, to her or for her, to you, singular formal, or for you, singular formal. Then for les, it can translate to them or for them, or to you, formal and plural. Now these should seem familiar. Look familiar? I hope so. You've used these with gustar to say to whom something is pleasing. So me is the IOP in this sentence. A mí me gustan los pingüinos. The penguins are pleasing to me. Me, the IOP. A mí is like a clarifier or the indirect object. So backwards, the penguins are pleasing to me. But then what if we have something else? Perhaps a new sentence. So let's take a look. Le gustan los pingüinos. The penguins are pleasing to, who? It could be multiple things. So let's add a clarifier. A Paco. Okay, now I know to whom specifically. So a Paco acts as the indirect object or the clarifier and lays the IOP. Now the same rules apply as before for placement, even though we're using new pronouns. So we have before a conjugated verb or the options to attach. Now let's take a look at some examples. See if you can identify the parts of speech that make up each one and translate accordingly. You can always pause to practice. Now let's take a look at these different examples, all of which include indirect objects, to whom or for whom something is done. So I send a card to my parents. Well, I send. So yo mando una tarjeta. And then to whom? To my parents. So a mis padres. Oh, to whom or for whom. That means that's the indirect object. So I need to add an indirect object pronoun as well. That should go before the conjugated verb. So I would add les. Yo les mando una tarjeta a mis padres. Now remember, I can use both the indirect object pronoun and a clarifier in these situations. Now let's look at a second example. We buy a cassette for Jose. We buy, compramos, una cinta. Oh, for Jose. That's an indirect object because it's saying for whom or to whom. So I'm going to put le for the indirect object pronoun. A Jose is my clarifier. So le compramos una cinta a Jose. Both an IOP and the clarifying indirect object. Last one. You lend your radio to Juana. Prestas tu radio to Juana. So we must put le, since it's one person, and it's to her. And then a Juana, just to clarify who we're talking about, since le or les can be a little vague. So feel free to try these again. Thanks for giving this a shot, and good luck.